All right, hi everyone, welcome. I am going to go through today some of the apps that are really nice for engagement strategies, and I suppose that's the best way of describing it. As I said kind of before, what I might do is just maybe even use one that we're going to talk about today, which is Padlet and how I might use that. So if you want, you can go to menti.com. It's going to prompt you to enter a code. The code is on the board, 88429822. Um, and there are different ways of doing this. So at the moment, I'm sharing screen, and I will talk through how you actually set up a Mentimeter and do all that. But you can actually as well directly share screen from a Teams call. It's just easier in this sense because I didn't set up the call to do it in this manner. And most of these apps will give you this flexibility that they can be integrated into the team. But often sometimes you're just going to find it's as easy to share screen and to just pop up the window or so. So if you want, you can try this. And I suppose the nice thing around Mentimeter is it's a great way at the start of a lesson, when students are streaming in and you're looking to that dead time while there's like 3 or 4 minutes while people are settling down. It's something you could pop up on the board. Now I've put up how are you feeling this morning, but that could be like name one thing you remember from the last session, or you can obviously adapt all these. And I suppose we will talk through the different ways in which you can use them, but they're nice and easy. And because they work really well on phones, you can see it's just a nice way of getting some either feedback, settling things, introducing ourselves and introducing each other. But it's nice and easy to use for the main part. So I suppose this is just to demonstrate what it'd be like in your classroom. And equally, you can see it's got a word cloud. And this one, the more they get put up, the bigger the words get, and things like that. And I suppose they're nice. It's a nice way of just gathering some information. So I'm gonna switch now, if that's okay, and talk you through how I made this. And then, oh, it's lovely to see people are feeling enthusiastic and excited, but I'm just going to share screen with my other account, and I'm pretty much going to stay in that one for the majority of the time. So I won't be doing that again. You'll be happy to hear, or hopefully I won't be doing it. So again, a lot of these integrate with Teams, and they are really nice and easy to use. But sometimes if you're doing something like a hybrid lesson or a lesson where you're online, you might just choose to share screen. And I suppose that is the nice thing. You have different options. So I'm going to start first with Mentimeter. I'm just going to close this down just so that I actually start from scratch. Mentimeter, as I pointed out there, is a free to use app, and you can create interactive presentations if you want to. So it is going to ask me to log in, but it already remembers that I've logged in. So you will have to sign up. Now, the nice thing around this is they're not looking for a whole lot of information. So you just use a name and a password, and then you can create new presentations. So I'm going to show you how I create a new presentation and new folders in terms of organizing it. The one thing I would probably point out is that there is obviously a paid upgrade option, but the likes of what I did there a minute ago is free. And I think, to be honest, most people will probably use it in that manner. So just going to cancel this for a second. You have got an option around inspiration, which will show you, different examples. So again, if you're looking for something that you want to add in, or you want to see what's possible, sometimes this is a nice way of doing it. And you can add these directly in, but you can see here they're great for using for polling and for voting, for collecting, I suppose, thoughts. And they have different settings for you to see. So sometimes that's nice just to see some more. So I'm going to create a new presentation. And tell me, I'll just call it introductions. Much easier. I'm just going to call it introductions. And then I'm going to create it, and it pops up like this. So you have a couple of options here. So you can use a multiple choice, a word cloud, open-ended where people can just pop up sentences, your sliding scales, your ranking, your question and answers, and there's kind of, I suppose, very different variations where you see the little star, just to point out that that's a premium option, so it's something that you have to add additional, or you have to pay for. I tend pretty much to stay with things like multiple choice, word clouds, just because they're really easy to use in class. And if you opened it there on your phone, you'll notice that it's quite fast, and so it can be a nice way of doing it. So it's really nice and straightforward. You can ask your question. So tell me your favorite color. Now, down here, you can see that you can select that you have 3 entries per participant. Now, if you were using this probably in a more teaching and learning mode, you might obviously want to change that and give them more options or less options. This is really good for gathering kind of initial information around a topic. So what do you already know? And that probably would have been a better one. Like, what do you already know about the body? And here you can see this is where you might want to increase the number of entries that people can use. And you can see here that you can add an image and you can upload an image directory and you can use the image library. So one thing I've noticed around this is you might select this picture here. It's not going to be as wide as this, I often find. So you might want to just pull it in a little bit and, crop it down, because in most of the times it'll just be to the side of your Mentimeter. And so if you if I left it full size, probably you're actually going to see blue. Down here, if you have any students who are using a screen reader to access their computer, and if they're partially sighted or visually impaired, this is what your alt text is. So you can just describe picture of legs and feet. And then the software will be able to read it and describe it to them. And pretty much like this is a lot of what we can do. We can customize it if you want. You can change different layouts if you want, changing maybe where the picture is and how big it is. If you're expecting a lot of entries, I'd probably bring it back where there's a lot of white space, just to ensure that it's easier to see. And then there is little bits like this, so you can show the image, you can change where it is, you can close it and open it so when you don't want it to be active anymore. But for the majority of the times, this is, very much how I'll set this up. And you can see here, you can add presenter notes. So I can pop up present here. And if I was just in my classroom, this is what I tend to do. Just pop this up on the board and it appears there. If you are in a call with your class, you're engaged in, say, hybrid learning, or you are engaged with if you're engaged with a hybrid lesson, or, just a call, and it's not a repeated meeting, because it might struggle in that sense, if that makes sense. But say I was using this for study, just going to invite a couple of students. Now the reason for this is it has to be a meeting with participants, otherwise this won't work. And I'm just going to hit send, and this is going to send them an invite. And then I'm going to go back in here and edit it. What you can do then is add it in here. So you can add a tab called Mentimeter. And you can add it in. Now this will bring up your Mentimeters that you've created. And so it could be that introduction one, and I can add it to the meeting. Now, and this is why I'm saying a repeated meeting it'll struggle, because it won't know which one it's for. But if you go into this call, which I'm going to do over here, I'm just going to show you how you could share it directly from the call. Don't worry, I am not going to go through this again. All you would do here, now this is a demo account, so it doesn't pick it up as well, is instead of, say here you got whiteboard, PowerPoint, if this is a normal Teams call, your other option that you will see here is your Mentimeter will appear as an icon here, and you can just choose to share screen, and it will take up the screen like you do when you normally share a screen. But by and large, like this is how I often use Mentimeter, either for gathering previous knowledge, checking in with students, just anything like that where you can use it to increase engagement. It is, like you've seen, that took me literally all of, I'd say, 30 seconds to create. And it's particularly easy to use. You can change things around. You can, change your color schemes and all that. It is something that you can do if you want, but to be honest, sometimes you will just find that what works well is keeping it nice and simple. But again, you can use it, and I'll talk about Padlet a little bit, later on, is you can use it in that kind of Padlet style. So you can use it to collect kind of tiles and let people really grow the discussion. So, in this one, then you can see that it'll start off. Well, I've gone further back. So it starts off here. This could be something I had up at the board when they come in. When they go in, then it's going to prompt them for these two questions. What do we already know about the body? And what are your goals and expectations in working with this group? Or it might be, what are your goals, purposes, and expectations, of the year ahead? It is a nice, fast, and straightforward app to use. And I know from my own point of view as a teacher, that's what I want. I want something that's not going to be complicated and that will take a lot of effort. You can see here that you have options if it's one like this, where you're really just letting them put up different sentences, I suppose. You can do it like speech bubbles, and you can do it one by one that they come up and you can scroll down through it, or you can have a flowing grid. And if you have multiple or lots of answers, and again, you're expecting multiple answers, this one can just ensure that it doesn't get too small. Down the bottom here, you can see that you can add more slides. And here now at this point, I have 4, and you can see here that I've now reached my maximum amount of slides for the free version. But it can be nice and easy to create loads of different options and different interactive things in your presentations. Most of them, as you will see here, that when you choose whether you want multiple choice, a word cloud, your sliding scales, or students to type in an answer, you will see that it's going to prompt you what to do. And again, this is nice and straightforward. So your question might be, name the, I don't know, name the organ inside your head. This is the bit I always struggle with in these. And then your correct answer might be the brain. And again, you can see you can add in images. You can give them so many seconds to answer. So again, if you're using this as like a test, you can give them 20 seconds to answer. And again, equally, if they answer faster, you can turn on that they get more points. That's a little bit like Kahoot. And you can see that you can choose whether or not you have music or not. Now, depending on what you might like, you might find that you don't need any music. This used to drive me mad sometimes. This will be on while they're while they're doing it, but that's all there. So you can see here now, the quiz will not have a winner. Add a leaderboard. Sorry, I have to add a leaderboard so that they'll have a winner. That bit is very like Kahoot. And you can see here now, in this case, your Kahoot will start with different options, and these are different questions. So it's waiting for players. Once they start, then it is going to pop up the question, and students will be able to give their answers. So it's a really nice and easy app. It's fun and it's very easy to set up. You will be limited with four slides. The fifth one here is the leaderboard, and that's the reason. It's actually added in the fifth one, so I suppose it's something to note. But nice and simple, really easy to use, really like it, fast, fun, and easy to engage with our students. I'm going to do Padlet next. I'm just going to close this one down. Padlet, for those of you that may not be familiar with it, again, it's going to ask you to sign up. Again, here I'm in a demo account. You are able to create 3 different Padlets for free. And I suppose that's just one thing to be conscious of. You might run out of free ones. And in that case, you might kind of be recycling them and re-editing them and changing them. But, you know, they're different. That is a different way of using it. And again, this is where you might be able to use Mentimeter for some of these tasks. You might be able to use Padlet for some of them. You might be able to use Kahoots for others. You might be able to use Forms and just, I suppose, mix it up a little bit. It's going to ask you to sign up, and you, again, I think it's just a username and a password. That's really all they want. And the fact that might ask you that you're a teacher, something like that. It's not a whole lot. Again, there are paid and premium versions. I'm talking about using the plain old free one. You can make a Padlet, and kind of echoing what we've seen with the likes of Mentimeter there, you can use these in a couple of different ways. This is going to be how the information is displayed. So be it as a wall, as a streamlined content, a grid, a canvas, a timeline, or whatever. I'm going to be honest and say most of the time I'm sticking with this one or this one. So the wall, which if you've seen Padlet before, tends to be, I think, the one most commonly used. Again, this is a nice and straightforward app to use, and nice and easy to create. So My Fierce Padlet is the title. Here I'm going to simply change it to, what will I change it to? So the solar system, just because. You can add a description. So describe any of the planets. And you can see here, you can add in an icon if you want, an emoji if you want to. They're all here. Again, sometimes these can be nice. It can be a little visual cue. You might have to spend a little bit of time trying to find the one that you want. Because I was looking there to something that's spacey based. Sorry now, again, it's just because I'm a science teacher, so it's where my mind tends to go far easier. I'm just going to pop in this little guy, and then bring it back here. And now you can have seen it's appeared over here. I'm going to come back to this and how you can add it to your clipboard, and I'm going to copy that and show you where I'm going to use it. You can change the background color. You can use solid colors. You have obviously a range of them here. Sorry, pardon me. You can use gradients, textures, and pictures. Because the information that the students are going to pop up is going to be overlaid on the background. The one thing I'll say is just kind of be happy that if I put up something like this, that might be quite difficult to see text on, depending on your classroom and depending on, you know, where you are. I like the Blackboard one because it's consistently solid color. It tends to be easier to distinguish, or something like this, like the Blackboard, which isn't a Blackboard, it's My Tasks. But again, it's going to be easier to read that off. You can change here the font. So my students tend to like Comic Sans. That's very similar to it. If you want, you can choose that this person's name is present on their post. And if you turn that on, that will be displayed for everyone. So again, that's something that you want or you don't want to have in your classroom. where does the new post appear? If you want the new post to appear at the top, then you put it on first, or if you're looking for them that they build up, then they can appear last. To make things a little bit easier sometimes to see what's coming in new and keep it relevant, I tend to prefer first. I generally don't bother with comments just because of students being students and sometimes not as nice to each other. But it can be nice that if you add, say, a like or a star, especially if you're using this for a vote, or you're looking to someone might be saying it's and describe any of the planets. You might have people who agree with this statement, and you can give it a star as well. So the reactions do tend to work really well in that manner. It can stop you having loads and loads and loads of different answers, and they can obviously, you can say to them, if something's there and you agree with it, you can upvote it or you can star it. And that obviously makes things a little bit easier. It takes away some of the clutter. Now, the other thing you can do if you want is require a moderator to approve it. And that means that every message that come into you, you would have to approve before to be seen for everyone. That is something that you may decide you need in your classroom or not. It totally depends on it. But these tend to be live and in person, and you're there with them. So I've never really had an issue around that. If you're afraid of bad words, so you can put on a profanity filter, which will replace the curse or swear with a little emoji, which is interesting. So I suppose that's kind of setting it up. What I'm going to do now is, again, I'm just going to copy that to clipboard because I want that, and I'm going to hit next. And you're all set here, and you can start posting. Now, my students sometimes might find, things a little bit more difficult to find things, just tend not to be as organized sometimes. What I want to show you is how you can easily integrate this with your team. So if you have a team made for your class, and this might be a Padlet that you're going to be using or reviewing, you might just use it as like for the chapter that we're in. If you have any questions, post them to the Padlet and I can keep an eye on them. You can add a tab here. So when I'm doing that, I'm just going to use a website, just to point this out. Now I'm adding it as a website, I'm not adding it as a dedicated app. And I'm going to paste into the URL here. So that's why I copied it to clipboard. It's because I'm going to save it in here. The nice thing now is you can see that this Padlet appears in their team and it's there on the wall. And again, if students are using it for something like collecting information, collecting thoughts, it's going to be there with your class all of the time. And you can see here that you can write something. So we can say is, oops, daisies, that's if I want to choose a file. So Mars is known as the red planet, just to show you what it's like for the students, and publish it. And that will pop in here. If they agree with it, because I turned on the voting, you can see you can heart it. Now, and again, this is where this works really well. Works really well for gathering, say, questions or for information, or equally for, I've seen this used by teachers, it's saying like a subject department or something like that, and they're using these to collate resources. And that is because, if you're popping in, and just using this as an example, you could use this in a manner to collect really good, say, videos. I have no idea what's going to go up here. You can use this also in the manner that you are collecting lots of files and stuff like that. So pop it in here. I'm going to pop in my YouTube. I'm going to paste that in. And you can see here that I can publish this. Now I probably should have picked something about the solar system. But I suppose this is where this becomes nice and interactive. They can not just input text, but they can insert videos. They can insert an actual file, upload a file. They can insert a picture. It might be an image that they've created. I'm going to hit my 3 dots and you'll see a little bit more, but you can see that they can use loads of different things. So it's not going to be merely text. It's much more multimedia. So you can insert your drawings, YouTube, Spotify songs, anything. And this is probably where it works really well across different subjects, because you will find unique ways to use it in your own classroom setting. And again, because there's so many different ways of capturing it, the students will get different, they'll get to use it in different ways. And it can be a great way of collating and having a really nice multimedia wall. And again, that can be a mixture of files, videos, text, and everything. Again, you would probably find unique ways of using this in your own classroom settings, but it's really nice and versatile. The fact that you can integrate it with Teams here means that it's very easy for students to just use it, if you know what I mean. They're not going to another external link. So you can just be like in your team, on the tab, the Padlet tab in the general channel, you can grow this. And obviously then you can change this if you want. So you can modify it here. So if you're finding that this description is not okay anymore, you know, the nice thing around this is I'm again not having to go elsewhere. I'm doing this all in Teams. So for me as a teacher, it just means that no more than yourself. Sometimes it's just nice to have to not go back out to another website if I want to change it and adapt it. Or over time, as I said, if you're going to edit and reuse them, what you might like to do is you might like to just remake them here as well. So you can see you can totally remake this from I suppose from the start. You can share this out again if you want. You can share it and email it to people if you want to share it and showcase some nice work that your class have done, anything like that. You've got all of these nice little options. And I suppose that's mainly it. If at the very end you want, you can export it. Or that's not the button I intended to press. You can print this off if you want, to have a record of it. And showcase what you've done, and use it for another year and kind of capture what they've done. Or you can see, or you click export. It's not going to let me do that here. This is what I was looking for. You can export it as an image, as a PDF, or as a CSV file. Again, if you're wanting to keep a record of this, because you're going to be reusing them, or doing it in different ways, well then this can work really nicely as well. So I suppose that is Padlet. I'm very briefly going to talk you through Forms and then Kahoot, probably 5 or 6 minutes on each one. And if you haven't used Forms before, it is part of the Office 365 apps. Really nice. It's a really nice way of collecting information from your students. I use this all the time as a teacher because they mark themselves, which sometimes is great for that quick knowledge check. Just to point out, you can make a form that's shared with multiple people. And so again, if you're in something like a subject setting, you might choose to make it somewhere in the likes of down here. So just to point that out, if you're in a group and you want to make it, you have that option. Very briefly, because I'm conscious of time, you can choose to make a new quiz or a new form. The difference is a quiz, you will have points allocated, there'll be right and wrong. A form is going to be just, it's great for capturing information, capturing data. That's where you go with new form. I'm going to talk you through quiz because they look almost the exact same, but you just have the additional option of adding a point. So once you see one, you see them both as such. So here I might just do polar bears. And again, this will tend to prompt you what you need to do. So enter a description. This might be a quick test. Polar bears. So if I'm making a form, you'll see this in a minute. I'm going to point this out. You'll be prompted to answer if it's right or wrong, basically, and what the correct image is. Wherever you see this icon, is because you can upload a image search. So, you know, these can be great for assessment for learning as well as engagement. So here's a cute picture of some polar bears, and I'm going to add it in here. And it will prompt me. Now, if you are using someone has a screen reader, again, you can provide the alternative text for the screen readers. You can click on here and describe it. So it's like image of polar bear and cub. And that's it. I'm going to add new. And I suppose just to point out, there are a couple of different options. You have multiple choice questions, which, you know, what color is the fur of the polar bear? You'll see it actually prompts you, which is really nice. So you can choose black, white, yellow, blue, and green, and orange. If I want to show that it's right, I'm going to click it to say that that is the correct answer. If you want, if they choose the wrong one, if you want to give them, you know, if you want to give them a prompt, you can use this little speech bubble icon. So like it might say, see the image above. I obviously wouldn't do this for everything. It's just showing you. And if you want to remove the green option, you can simply delete it again, but it's nice and easy. Down here, you can see, that you can enter the point. So 1 point for this question. A good tip is if you want them to answer the questions and not skip to the end, you can make it required. And that's like, you know, the little red asterisks when you're filling in a form and it's like, you did not enter this part. That's that button there. Just to point this out. Again, with text, it might be, pardon me, it lets you enter an answer, say like, what color is the skin of the polar bear? Just to point out, you have the option to add in colors here all the time, or pictures, sorry, all the time. You can do that here. Here again, you can add in your correct answer. I will say that when I'm doing this, pardon me, I tend to try and think about different ways in which they might answer it because it will agree with that if it's black. But it's going to be pretty sticky on the spelling. It won't matter if it's capitalized or not, but just things of like red blood cells, again, sorry, talking from a science point of view, but if it's going to be red blood cells, RBCs, things like that, I'll try to pop in a few answers. I'll try and pop in a few different things. Again, this can be, you know, you can use them for different manners. Here's a rating questions. How many, you know, how many stars are you giving this? Something like this. Just showing one or two more. You can use this for a Likert scale, which obviously can be great maybe for, this can be great, you know, you're strongly agree, strongly disagree, anything like that. And it's like how, or no, review the following statements. And you can obviously put in here statement, the sky is blue. Obviously, you can personalize these as much as you want. If you're not happy and you have too many options, you can see here, you can quickly go, you know, you can change them, you can delete them. So you can have agree, disagree, and again, it prompts you, and neutral. It rains a lot in Ireland. Again, this might be something I use to ascertain prior knowledge or just capture kind of student voice, anything like that. And you can add in statements here as you wish. And again, I've marked these as agree. If you want, you can have further options here, and I'm not going to go into them just because I haven't got like so much time, but you can add a branch here. And what that means is, you know, if probably a better one here to do it is add a branch. And so you can say that if they choose black, then they can go to the end of the form because they know their stuff. If they choose yellow, they can go to question 2. They can go to question 2. You know, they can go to question 3. You have this option to make it a little bit more, I suppose it's not personalized, but you can use it to ensure that you have your correct flow. That tends to be something though that I would plan at the start. One last one then, just to show you out, is if you choose open a question, you have the option for maths. And this will work in text or multiple choice. So solve x plus or minus 2 is equal to 6. And here you can enter your correct answer, which is 8. Or equally, you can do this as multiple choice. Solve for x, enter your equation, x minus 2 is equal to 5 this time. What I like about multiple choice is it prompts you which it is and which one's the correct. And again, you can add in, when you hit plus, now it's going to give you some ones to that is based on that question. So if you're a maths teacher, this can be very nice. I kept that fairly aligned with basic algebra, but it will handle a more complex one. Now, just to point out, you can preview this, what it would be like for the student on a phone, on a computer. Over here on the immersive reader, you'll see the book and an icon, which means that if students click it, it will read the question to them.
1. What color is the fur of the polar bear asterisk? 1 point. Black, yellow, blue, orange.
And they could also use this immersive reader to translate it into a number of different languages, say Polish, Persian. They could click orange, see the Polish, and see a picture. Just, you know, it's a further support that is available within forms. Now, I'm not going to dwell on this too much. When you go to share, just to point this out, only people in my organization will respond if you flag this, and this is important. It will capture the name of the person who responds. So in a class setting, that's invaluable. The students don't have to enter their name. It will know who they are, and you will get that information. If you do, anyone can respond. It will be anonymous. So I suppose that's just important. Depending on your setting, one is appropriate, one isn't. If you're doing anyone can respond and you need to capture a name, I tend to put it in as a question. Only people in my organization can respond. I can copy the link, or you can see I can shorten it here and copy that link again. And I'm going to use that now in a second. To point out, if you made a nice quiz and you want to share it with someone in your subject area, you can use this, click a link to get a duplicate and email them that link. If you're collaborating with another teacher and you want them to be able to view and edit it, you can use this, click it, you'll get a link, and you can send that to them. But I'm going to talk about it in the teacher setting and how I might use it. So I can either hit copy here and copy the link, or you can see that you can also email it. But equally, if I go back here to my team that I was in up to now, I can choose the option of a form and I can pop it in here. So create a form, you can go from scratch again, or you can use an existing form, and you'll see the ones that I've made are there. And I can use my polar bear one and I can collect my responses. Now you could say to the students, you know, click on the tab, answer the question, or you could equally go into a new conversation and say like complete this form, give them the link there, or you have the option of going to assignments, and when you go to create, one of the options is a quiz, and that is where you can use your form, and you can click your polar bear and hit next and do it. Just going to discard that again because of time. And again, because that's a quiz, it will self-mark, which is nice and handy. Down here as well in the bottom, you have new conversation. You can see that you can create a form or survey directly here as well. This can be great for polling students, much smaller, obviously. It's a much smaller option, but if you were like, did you understand today's lesson? This can be a really nice option. Multiple choice, checking in for engagement. This is a nice and easy strategy that you can use. And now I have about 5 minutes to explain what Kahoot is. And I won't hopefully take you up too much more than that. Kahoot is a really fun and engaging way to do assessment for learning. And you have to sign up again for it, and it will prompt you. This time it will ask you if your school name is there. Now you can skip it, but equally you can pop it in, and sometimes you might find that other people are in the school are in it, and it'll just join the dots as such. So what you can do is there is a library of loads and loads and loads of ones that are ready-made, or in the discovery area, I suppose. And you can pop in here about the planets. And you can see here, this one has been played 101,000 times. It's got 10 questions, and I can preview it here. You might know Kahoot. My kids absolutely love this. They love this. This is what they want to do. This is their preferred assessment for learning strategy. What is nicer in this is you have the option of playing this here, and you can actually assign it for self-paced learning, which means you can almost set it like a task. So it's due on the 13th, I'll say at 12 o'clock. Nickname generator on or off, question timer on and off. Probably the most annoying thing that my students do is choose ridiculous nicknames, nothing profane or anything, but just ridiculous. I'm like, just use your name. They tend to do silly names. And then you can hit create. Now, what's nice around this is you have a direct link here to Teams, and you can either use it to create an assignment to capture the data, in a more formal setting, or you can simply share it. So you can see all of my classes that I've already made are appearing here, and I can choose it, and I can assign it like this. Now for my students, it will merely look like in this setting that they're going to come in here to their science lesson, go into their assignments, because things have moved since last year I was looking for it. And you can see here that, what work they've done and how they've got on with it. So in that way, that's what I mean, it'll be a little bit more formal. Otherwise, and I'm going to say this, like often if I'm in class, and I did this even when I was in a remote setting. So I did that one where I assigned it as homework. But the other thing then that I did is, this is actually quite cute. It's made by Disney. We just played it for teaching, and I played it in this manner so that I shared screen and the students went to kahoot.it, and or if it's something a lot, you can say you can use the app. I'm just going to turn that music off. They would enter a PIN, this 4918, whatever. I share screen anyway, and then once they're in, we play it. And I am going to just show you how to create one from scratch yourselves, but it can be a really fun way of capturing it. So you can see here, Elsa and Anna see water as a liquid, solid, and gas. There are 3 states of blank, and they have to fill in the blank. And there are different options. And I suppose that's just to show you. Obviously, these are multiple choice. So here matter is marked correct, and you can use, this is one that's already made, and it's fun and easy. You can make some yourself. Now, the nice thing around this is it will capture the student's nickname, and that's why if you want to use it for assessment for learning, I do it as an assignment because you will actually capture their name. Otherwise, you will get their ridiculous nicknames. So like, you'll get something like this weekend, Mayo, you'd get lots of Mayo and related stuff because I'm based here in Galway. But that's what I mean. You'll get lots of unusual nicknames, Mayo for Sam, that kind of nonsense you'll be getting. But you can make these assessments yourself. And I'll just briefly show you how to create one. They take a little bit of time just to make up, but they're really fun. Kids love them. There is a timer, and I suppose just to point out that even with that one there, you know, the faster they answer, the more points they get. And there is an automatic leaderboard as well. And obviously that makes the students a little bit more competitive and more likely to want to play. Now, I do things in my own, in like my classes, like, you know, if they win it, they get like a merit. Now that might be directly applicable here, but use it to try and reinforce some positive behavior. But you can easily type in your question. So name, pick. You can add an answer here: solid, liquid, gas, potato. Not bad, wrong. And you can mark this one as the right answer. You can make it a 20-second quiz. You can choose it standard or double points, and obviously single player, single option only. Again, you're going to probably find with this one, there are certain things that you might want to do, but it's a paid option. You can here choose a load of images. You only have so many free ones, just to point that out. So again, you might use images that are already made or that you've already have on your computers. Let's see if there's any potatoes. You can use that. You can add another question. Again, this time you can see you can choose quiz or true and false on the free option. This actually is to be a little bit more open, but just to point that out. And again, you can start to type your question here, and you can, you know, insert your question too. And at the end, when you're done, you can see, oh, going to keep me going back to edit. Just going to delete this one. You can make them, obviously, as I was saying, once you're done, then you can give it a title. So dancing potato. Now, obviously, this is only a demo. Wouldn't actually call one dancing potato. And I'm going to hit continue. Now, the Kahoot is ready to play, so we can test this now. And you will see that the students will get a pin. They can enter their pin here on their phone. Music takes me back. They can enter it like this: nickname, and hit OK, go. God, this takes me back to class. Anyway, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, it will start. So here's my dancing potatoes, and you'll see this is what it's like for the kids. A question comes up, pick the odd one out. Solid, liquid, gas, potato. You'll see the kids here can just choose potato, and I got 890 points. Great fun. Absolutely great fun in your class. My kids love this. I again have done this back in my remote learning period. But a lot of times I just go into Kahoot and share screen directly from it. You can you can actually, to point this out now here, you can go to your team, go into your chemistry here. You have the option to add in your Kahoots here as an app. Now, what I have found with this, and this will give you all your Kahoots that you've made, is very slowly. this will give you all of the ones that you've already created. So again, if you want to play this, you can simply click play. And again, you can do it live and in person, or you can assign it for self-paced learning. Again, this just integrates it into the one place for you as a teacher to make it nice and easy. I have noticed though, again, just to point out that I suppose some of these, because they are made by companies, you're limited with what you can do with them, if that makes sense. So if I go into this one, you can add it to your favorite or add it to a collection. Now this is very handy because you can make collections for your subjects or, you know, for different classes, and you can almost bookmark them. So just to point that out there, you have the ability to create a new collection, and I'm just going to call it Disney themes because that's what it is. You can obviously add your Kahoots in here and use it in this manner. I've just found that some of these ones, when they're made by companies, you have the ability to edit it and make them your own. So oftentimes with these ones, if you find really random ones, what I mean by that is you find one, say like this one, and you like some of the questions, what you can actually do is edit this and what it needs to have. That's annoying. It needs to have all free ones for you to edit it on the free version, but you can use this to edit them, make it your own and make it more relevant. But that is just time. So I don't know if anyone has any questions. I know that was fast, but I was trying to give you a couple of different options that you can have for, you know, raising engagement. Not raise engagement, but for engagement strategies for your lessons. My kids love all them, to be honest. They love Kahoot especially.